everyone, and welcome back to HBCU Game Day. I am Symone Stanley, and we are here in our Atlanta studios. Atlanta, the home of HBCU Game Day, and also the home of the 2025 SIAC Basketball Tournament. It's March. It's time to get mad, okay? The tournament is kicking off this week, but we've already had some crazy things happen in the preliminary rounds. So let's go ahead and talk about it. I am joined by Sylvester Williams, a.k.a. Sly, the sports guy. Sylvester, how you feeling?
Man, I'm feeling great. It's tournament time, man. It's one of the second best time of the year.
What's the first best time?
Well, April 23rd, my birthday. I do accept presents, gifts, and everything else that go along with it.
Okay, I like it. Well, we got March Madness leading you right into your birthday season.
There you go.
That's a good time. I think I had the best birthday season because I'm a Virgo. September, that's football season. So, you know.
Okay, that's decent. It's
I think you got second best. You got second best.
I'll give you second.
Let's go ahead and talk about the SIAC Basketball Tournament, Sly, because it's exciting. For the past 2 years, it's been in Savannah, Georgia. Now we got the thing in the A, and we're both ATLians.
Yes.
So I know we like having the basketball here.
Yes, I think all great events should be in Atlanta. I'm just going to be honest with you. It is the perfect city for everyone to come together. It's the central point, I guess, in the conference, so it works out. It's a short drive for everybody. So Atlanta, I think, is the best place. And if you're going to have it in Atlanta, why not have it in the AUC and have it at Morehouse? So I think this is a great setup. Nothing against Savannah, but we'd rather come to Atlanta than Savannah.
And we live here, so, you know, as broadcasters, as media talent, we can go grab lunch from home and go right back to the arena. So we're definitely selfish with this decision. And there's two teams in SIAC that call Atlanta home, Clark Atlanta and Morehouse. So 2 teams win.
So it should be a great location. They have a lot of things going on this week for the SIAC tournament. They have the Cigars and Conversation on Tuesday night. They'll do that at Cam Newton's, I think at Fellowship. I think that's the name of it. And then I think on Thursday they will have a bruncheon that acknowledges some of the women in the SIAC and some of their accomplishments and awards that they have won and will win. So if you want to check that out, you can go to www.siacatl.com for more stuff, and they'll give you a little bit more information than I can. But there's a lot of events going on. I talked to Dr. Holloman, and what he was saying, he said, we're not just going to have a basketball tournament. We want this to be an event. You know, we want it to be a thing where it's a lot of other things that go on during the week.
Of course, but we know the main thing has to be the main thing. And the main thing this week is what's going on in the court in basketball. Okay, so the quarterfinals up into the championship is going to be in Atlanta at Morehouse College, Forbes Arena. But the first round, the preliminary, a.k.a. the play-in to the SIAC tournament, took place on the campuses of these schools. And we already had one big upset happen before we even got to the home site of this tournament. It was Edward Waters University. Edward Waters University already was the first upset of this tournament. Were you surprised by this?
I was really surprised by what happened this first week with Edward Waters losing. I expected Edward Waters, and here's the thing: when we say Edward Waters losing, are we talking about the men or the women? Both of them were upset, in my opinion. Both of them took a shocking loss, in my opinion.
A sweep.
Yeah, bad day for the Tigers down there in Jacksonville, down there in Duval County.
Lose.
So yeah, they say lose ball. And then and here's the thing about that Edward Waters on the men's side, it was bad enough that they lost. They got taken behind the woodshed, 108-87. You know, Kentucky State went there, and, good old-fashioned butt cut.
The kids call it B2A now, BTA.
B2A. They took the belt off and put it to the, behind.
What kind of beef they have going on? Because that seems personal.
Apparently, Coach Huff must have owed somebody money.
Somebody in Kentucky some money. Betting on some horse racing or something.
Something happened bad, and they went down there and delivered the butt cutting, and that wasn't very nice. And then you got the other side, Spring Hill on the women's. Spring Hill came out there and they beat them pretty bad too. They beat them by 9. It wasn't quite as bad as the men's game, but Edward Waters taking that L and getting up out of here. That was my shock of the first round. on both sides.
Yeah, big shocker. There was also another upset in the first round for Allen. The Allen women, they lost to Lemoyne Owen.
Lemoyne Owen, yes, they lost to Lemoyne Owen. The Magicians.
The Magicians.
Magicians pulled the trick. They pulled the rabbit out of the hat and went upset Allen. Now, here's the shocker about the Allen women. The Allen women, they actually beat Clark Atlanta the last game of the year. They beat Clark Atlanta, so now you're riding on that high going into the tournament, and they couldn't quite maintain. And Lemoyne Owen, they made that trip from Memphis. They hopped on the interstate and came on down and delivered a butt cutting and headed back to Memphis. And they're gonna party back on Beale Street, I guess. So that was another huge shocker, because I was kind of expecting Allen to make that run in the tournament to try to get the split, I guess, because they already split with Clark Atlanta. So I thought Allen may have played Clark Atlanta in a rubber match or so, but it did not happen that way.
Nope. They had other plans. Well, all the other higher seeds took care of business in the first round. Now it's time for the quarterfinals, semifinals, and championship game. When we look at this bracket, what game jumps out the most to you, Sly?
Well, we'll start off on the women's side. What I would love to see, I want to see Savannah State taking on Miles. Miles, number 1 seed in the West. Miles, you know, they're always going to be in the championship. They're going to be around the championship no matter what. But I've had the pleasure of watching Savannah State due to the SIAC network. I've got to see a lot of Savannah State games and check out Savannah State. And they have some players over there. They have some players who can score the ball and get things going. Amari Hurd, she's averaging right at 14 points a game. She's a scorer on all levels for Savannah State. And so I think they're going to challenge Miles. Now, do I think they can beat Miles? I don't think they can beat them, but I think it won't be as easy as a lot of people see. So that's one game on that women's side that I'm definitely looking forward to seeing.
And it's going to be different for the Savannah State women this year because they're at a neutral site. You know, the last 2 seasons, the women had the fans behind them. They had that 6th woman behind them in the crowd, but now they're coming to Atlanta, which is going to be a neutral site for them, and we're going to see, you know, how that tournament toughness fares for them on the road. But when you look at the men's side of the bracket, when you look at the quarterfinal matchups, which one stands out?
I'm looking at Albany State versus Tuskegee. I think that will be a great game. Tuskegee is 2nd in the West. Tuskegee had a really good year. Albany State on the other side, they're 3rd in the East. The East is the strongest division. I would say it's the strongest division out of division size because Miles is so good.
Right.
And, you know, Miles is just so far ahead of everybody else. They kind of overshadow everybody in the West. But Tuskegee's a really, really good team. And they're going to play Albany State. Now, here's the thing about Albany State. They have this guy, Shakir Poteet. Poteet is a scorer. He's averaging right around 19 points a game. And I love the way this kid plays. And he's the type of guy, if he gets hot, he will kill you. I'm talking about he will annihilate you. I got to see Shakir Poteet up close and in person twice. I got to see him. I called the Morehouse game when they played at Morehouse. And I also called the game when they played at Clayton State. And I got to see that young man. He was 20 plus in both of those games. He is a scorer. And that's the scary thing about Poteet. If Poteet gets hot, he's a one-man wrecking crew. So he could actually run through this tournament and probably carry Albany State by himself. That's how good a player that Shakir Poteet is.
You got me excited, okay? Only 2 more days till we get to see this play out. When you look at the men's side of the bracket, Clark Atlanta University, the defending champions. Last season, they did it at a neutral site in Savannah, Georgia. There was a lot of close games, a lot of exciting games last season, and Clark Atlanta defeated Miles College to become the 2024 SIAC champions. This time, they're darn near at home. They're at Forbes Arena, but they're across the street from the crib, and it's going to be a lot of Clark Atlanta fans in Forbes Arena cheering on Clark. Can you see Clark Atlanta running it back this season?
I definitely see Clark Atlanta making it back to that championship game. Let's just put it out there.
Can you see them running it back?
I see them making it to the championship game. I see Clark Atlanta making it to the championship game. You know, they're playing at Morehouse, and if it wasn't for that double overtime game a couple of weeks ago, some people would like to say that's Clark Atlanta's secondary gym. That's the way Clark Atlanta has been playing so far. They've kind of been on top of Morehouse for a little while. But Clark Atlanta is a great team, and this year they're kind of a more balanced team, especially when it comes to scoring. Leading scorer on that team, I want to make sure I get his points right, is Jalen Williams, and Jalen is averaging right at 14 points a game. Clark has always had some scorers on their team. They always had somebody who can put up a lot of points, but now they have more of a balanced attack. They're more of a balanced attack team, and I like the way Clark is playing. They aren't afraid of anyone. They aren't afraid of anyone, and so that first round matchup, they're going to play Kentucky State. Now, Kentucky State, they upset Edward Waters, as we said a little bit earlier. They upset Edward Waters, so now they're coming in with a little bit of a little bit of confidence. Right. They're coming in with some confidence. And in Kentucky State, they have some guys who can score the ball also. I think LeVar Miller, that I couldn't think his name right that quick. LeVar Miller, deadly three-point shooter. He's first in the nation, I think, in made field goals. LeVar Miller, what a shooter. You know, he's averaging 19.2. And then Azeel Blackwell, he's averaging 17 and a half a game. So they have a 1-2 combo that can cause problems. And also, when you get into the tournament, you know, referees are known to kind of let you play a little bit more. You can be a little bit more physical. And so now you kind of don't have to worry about those guys getting into foul trouble. You know, they're going to get a chance to get off. So they're going to give Clark everything they can handle in that first round. But I do think Clark is a more balanced team.
What team do you think could give Clark the most trouble?
I think Miles is just a really, really good team. I think Miles is a really good team. Coach Watson is a great coach. So everything about Miles, it's a reason they've only lost one game in the conference. They lost to Morehouse, a tough match to Morehouse at Morehouse. So they'll be coming into this tournament thinking, hey, this is the only game we lost was on this court right here. And I happen to call that game too. It was the only game we lost was right here. So now they'll come in. I think they're focused. They're directed. They want to avenge last year's loss. You know, trying to make it to the championship last year. They see they have the potential to make it to the national tournament. And I think this is a team that can actually make a run in the national tournament also. Once they get everything cooking and all gears going, Miles is a threat in the national tournament. So even though I like Clark Atlanta, I like what they do, I think it's going to be tough to beat those Golden Bears.
Ooh, okay. Now, when we look at the women's side of the bracket, we know number 1 seed is Clark Atlanta. Number 1 seed in the West is Miles College Golden Bears, the defending champions in the SIAC for the women's. What team could you see giving those two the most trouble?
And, you know, it's crazy now. When Allen got upset,
it would have been Allen.
I really would have put everything on Allen to make it to that championship because of the way Allen is played. But with them getting upset, it's kind of wide open now. Yeah. Edward Waters. I thought Edward Waters had a great women's team. I thought Edward Waters, they had the size and the physical enough to compete with to compete with Miles and compete with Clark Atlanta. But now they got upset. So now you kind of throw a monkey wrench into everything going on. So now you're kind of curious as who can actually step up and beat Miles and Clark. And I'm going to be honest, I don't really see anybody out there who can beat them. I think if Miles and Clark make it to the women's finals, I think that will be the best game of the tournament. Yeah. Men or women, period. That will be the best game of the tournament. And that's what I'm looking for because Clark Atlanta is good. They're right there on the brink of the top 25. I think if they would have beat Allen last week, they would be in the top 25 right now. But with them losing to Allen, they're kind of like right there on the edge of the top 25 in the nation. Clark Atlanta is good. They are really good. They have scores. They have Evans. They have Gardner. They are deep. They can beat you in a multiple ways. They can beat you in multiple ways. They can out-rebound you and beat you with easy putbacks. They have the shooters on the outside who can shoot you out of a game if they want to. Clark is a very balanced team, so I'm looking forward to Clark. But the thing about Clark, you have to see how they're going to defend Harris from Miles. She's a scorer, leading the conference in scoring. I think she's right around 17 a game. So if they make it to the finals, if both of those make it to the finals, I think that'll be the best game in the whole tournament.
All right. Well, I am surely excited for the week. I know you're excited for the week.
I'm excited.
It's going to be a great week of basketball, the SIAC tournament, following right behind the CIAA tournament that took place last week. And shout out to HBCU Game Day for all the coverage of the CIAA tournament. And you know where to be for your coverage of the SIAC tournament this week. It is right here at HBCU Game Day. He is Sylvester Williams, a.k.a. Sly, the sports guy. I am Symone Stanley. Thank you guys so much for tuning in.